Hello, my name is Charles. I'm with TV Toastmasters. We invite you. And today on the show we have Nafisa Fai. She's the founder of Pan-African Planning Group, LLC, and Pan-African Oregon, or Festival of Oregon. Nafisa Fai, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Charles.
Yes, nice to have you. I'm so excited that you finally got here. It's been a struggle getting you here, but we finally got you here, and I'm excited.
I'm very excited. Thank you, and thanks for your persistence. I really appreciate. And my plate is really full, and I think my kids make it, so I'm going to blame it on them.
Blame it on the kids, huh?
Yes.
Well, you're from talking to you, sounds like you have you're very important. And so I appreciate you spending some time with us to share your story.
Yeah, I love Toastmaster. I used to belong the Mountain Park Toastmaster Club over there when I lived in Mountain Park, and sort of disappeared for a few years, but Toastmaster is in my heart. Helped me a lot. So.
Awesome. Welcome back to the team.
Yeah, thank you.
So who is Nafisa Fai?
Great question. Nafisa Fai. A lot of people want to know. Well, let's not exaggerate about myself.
You can exaggerate if you want to.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's the dream, hopefully.
Yeah.
One day, people are like, who is this Nafisa Fai person? But I'm originally from Somalia. I was born and raised in Mogadishu, Somalia. Mm-hmm. And about 30 years ago, when the Civil War broke out, my family and I were lucky enough to immigrate to Kenya. And we lived there for about 5 years in various refugee camps, because you don't get to stay in one refugee camp. You get to move around multiple ones and try to get to the good one. So we, 5 years after living in those refugee camps, we were able to resettle here in Portland, Oregon about 21, 22 years ago, because my aunt, bless her heart, lived here, and she sent us paperwork to sponsor us here in Portland, Oregon. And I've been here ever since, and went to high school here. I graduated from Franklin High. Yes.
I went to Jeff, so that was our rival school, one of the rival schools.
Oh.
But
sorry.
I feel sorry for you that you went to
No, I said sorry first, so I feel sorry for you. Franklin rocks. No. I didn't speak English very well, so I didn't really pick on the rivalry when I was going to high school. But I graduated in '99 and went on to junior college, and then went on to university, and then I went on to, I came here with a dream to either work for the UN or the American Red Cross. And when I realized that UN wasn't here, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, the closest UN is in San Francisco. Can we move there? And she said, no, I don't think so. So, and then I went back and realized that American Red Cross was actually 2 blocks from my house. So I ended up applying a job there as a volunteer to just, get to know and figure out if this is the right fit for me. Because, then I was too young to. Now, nobody really, I feel like people just get a job. But back in the day, you get to test it out and see what job really, at least I did, what job really I wanted. So Red Cross was a great fit for me and was a dream come true. I ended up getting a job there and worked there in the blood banking research world for about 9 years almost. And then I went to the county because I went to switch careers into public health. And that was really fun. I went from working in the laboratory wearing lab coats, white lab coats, and into the world of public health where extroverted people run the show. Mm-hmm. So it was really great, and which led me to join Toastmaster, which also led me to do improv and stand-up comedy myself.
You're in comedy?
I did.
You need to do some comedy.
I know.
Tonight.
I know.
Today.
I'm wearing a suit tonight, so okay. I'm all professional. But
nice.
But that was the reason. I think I consider myself self-taught extroverted, but naturally introverted, so it really helped me. Those opportunities made me be a good speaker, and not only just a good speaker, but be able to articulate some of my passions and some of the issues that I really cared about in an articulate way where people heard me and took action. So that's what I really appreciated, being in those opportunities. After that, I decided, usually people go from nonprofit to government.
Mm-hmm.
I left the government for nonprofit because it was a better professional development opportunity for me. I would be able to manage staff, my own program, and then it was also chronic disease prevention, like a public health. I really thought, the nerdy subject always appealed to me. I don't know why, but so that's what I did. And after doing that for 4 years, that nonprofit closed, unfortunately, and it led me to have a conversation with you today, because and then I ended up doing so many other stuff.
Great, all good stuff. Let me go back though. What was your major in school? I'm just curious.
I always wanted to be a physician assistant, so I was on that track, but I didn't want to do masters in like chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm not going to do masters in chemistry, and they didn't have a master's in biochemistry at Portland State, so I just got my bachelor's at FASU.
Well, it looks like you you have a background that you should be running for office or something like that.
I would love to. I have a lot of people and issues, and I have a soft spot for people, vulnerable people, and I have really good ideas about how to help people who are struggling in vulnerable communities, and how to improve and how to create economic development engines. So I'm always keeping an eye out on running for office. So eventually one day I will run for office. I'm considering.
Good.
That's not far from my mind.
Very nice.
So vote for me if you do see me on the ballot, and tell your friends.
I will vote for you.
Please.
Yes.
You promise, and I would like your endorsements.
Yeah.
Whatever office I run for.
I would do that. Let's talk about the Pan-African, the group that you have, the LLC. What is the focus, and actually how did you get into it, and the start of that? I think you alluded to it a little bit, the fact that you're unemployed, but kind of go deeper as to explain the process and how you got to this point.
When our nonprofit I was working for closed, I was on unemployment, and like you said, and it was my first time. Well, I think it was my first time ever coming to America that I was unemployed, and it was not a good feeling. Not that there's anything wrong, but it just didn't settle with me, and I decided that I'm going to follow my passion. And I always cared about creating business or selling something. I always cared about that. And being, I didn't have the labels like be an entrepreneur, but basically be one. So I decided that I was going to start my own consulting company firm. And I didn't know, what consulting gigs involved. I just knew that from previous professions, whatever we were doing, big projects, big improvements, whatever organization I was with, we always brought on a big consultant, and I paid top dollars. So I just appealed to me, and so I created Pan-African Planning Group, LLC, and I reached out to other consultants, because the reason why I called it Planning Group is I knew that, 10 heads are better than one. So I wanted to work with people who really have the best intentions of improving the community, the best intentions of helping vulnerable people, but the best intentions of helping communities of color. So I always wanted to work with consultants who are doing those kind of type of work. So I said, it's not just me, but I want to work with people who identify from the Pan-African diaspora and do some planning that really helps and move the needle to the best. So I formed that, and I reached out to a bunch of consultants to say, hey, I want to work, would you work with me? And everybody was like, yeah, Nafisa, you've got a great track record, you did this. So I thought it would be easy to get projects, and it was not that easy. People didn't know me as a consultant. People did see me as a leader or as a project manager or program manager, things like that throughout the county, or my nonprofit that I was working for. But people didn't really see me as a consultant. So, You know, when you're a consultant and you apply another consulting job, you have to submit a project that you did. And then somebody has to say, you know, I have to say I worked for somebody. And
Right.
that person have to say, yeah, Nafisa worked for me and these are the types of products she produced for me. I didn't have any of that track record. So it was really hard. I ended up doing my own things, which led me to found the Pan-African Festival of Oregon, which is now a nonprofit in its own entity and functioning and very thriving organization that's done a lot of other good stuff. But that's how the first Pan-African Festival was organized. It was me just saying, what else can I do while I build my credibility as a consultant and build these track records and these projects under my belt? What can I do? And I went back to when I was working in downtown Portland. I would always see these cultural festivals that happen in downtown. But they didn't reflect the communities that I identify as, you know, whether that is, you know, Muslim, Black, African, however you disaggregate my own identities. I didn't see that reflecting, and so I was like, well, why can't we have, you know, we have best practices, we have all these cultural festivals that are working, that's been happening for the past 20 plus years. Why couldn't we adopt their model and do it for the Black community or the African community, or, you know, that's what I was thinking. And then it became this idea of, you know, Pan-African, because it got bigger than what I was thinking, because there were people who were coming and saying, well, Nafisa, I identify as Afro-Latinx. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, then how do you fit in this? And then there were people who were from the Caribbean, because, you know, as an African person, my own lens were limited. It was only focused on African and Black, just that. But it really opened it up to create this, you know, Caribbeans, Afro-Latinx, African Americans and Africans to come together to celebrate, but also build economic development. So it's a celebration through economic development. That was the idea behind and the goals.
Great. So we'll hear more about the festival when we come back from the break.
Welcome to an opportunity to take the next step of your professional speaking journey. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever wished you were a star in a television show or at an event where the media is interviewing bystanders and you are wanting to be picked to give your opinion of the event? Or even in the smallest sense, you're at a sports game and secretly hope that your smiling face would appear on that big jumbo screen TV, but the jumbo screen always finds the fans with the painted faces. And you think to yourself, maybe next time. Well, what if I can offer you a chance to be on TV? Would you take it? That is what I want to offer you now. I'm Dottie Love, Associate TV Producer and Director. Toastmasters International is one of the largest organizations whose mission is to help improve your speaking skills. And District 7 is expanding your opportunities to do speaking via television. We have 4 fully equipped television studios and TV Toastmaster broadcasts to over 500,000 homes, plus a YouTube channel. Who knew? We want to invite you to take advantage of using media and television, either in front or behind the scenes. Let me share a few options that you have. First, you can be a guest on a show. Highlight your business or hobby or your community interest. Anything you're passionate about. Be a featured guest. Secondly, you can train to be a host on an ongoing TV segment. We will train you for that. Third, what about creating your own talk show? We will train you for that as well and give you access to a community media studio to do just that. Or lastly, be behind the scenes, either running a camera or editing shows. You decide which avenue is best for you, and our TV Toastmasters team will help you to navigate to get the most out of your media experience. Personally, I've done them all. I started as a guest, went to hosting, up to directing my own TV show. I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you this to impress upon you that your personal growth with Toastmasters is directly related to what you take advantage of. And I encourage you to be bold in looking for opportunities to stretch and grow. If this intrigues you, or if you have club members who you think that might be interested in this, please contact us here at TV Toastmasters. I'm Dottie Love, and you can reach me or any of us in the TV Toastmasters family at the contact information at the bottom of the screen. You can also find us on the web. Our website is 7512.toastmastersclub.org.
Welcome back. We left off talking about the festival and what's all involved with Nafisa Fai. Can you elaborate a little bit more as far as what happens at the festival, how often does it occur, and just kind of explain more so about the festival for Oregon?
The Pan-African Festival of Oregon is always, for now, for the next 5 years, or the first 5 years, I should say, would always be in Pioneer Square. So, and it always happens the second week of August. So if you can plan your time ahead the next few years.
Yeah, I'm going. I'm going every single year. Hopefully I can speak there at some point too. I have my own LLC as well, and I would love to speak there.
We would love to have you.
Yeah, I speak
we would love to have you.
8 different topics, 6 hours. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, please. And we want to talk about grant writing too later on.
Yes.
Talking about grant money.
I'm at your service.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
no, I think, it's funny how I ended up in that grant writing is that the first project I got, the first contract as a Pan-African planning group, well, not the first one, second contract, big contract that I got was actually to do fund development and grant writing for Prosper Portland's district. So that's how I ended up, because I couldn't get the facilitation, but I was ended up to lean on my experience and get and then ever since I ended up in that bracket. I don't know why, but I've only done one facilitation and strategic planning consulting. I've never done anything else with that. You would think consultants do a lot more facilitation and strategic planning, but more so fund development and grant writing for me, which actually benefited the Pan-African Festival because we were able to bring in some money to actually do that. Yeah. And the Pan-African Festival, it happens every year annually, and they also do other stuff. They do cultural dialogues between communities and within communities. And then, last year we did a dialogue around civil rights, and it was one of our leaders that actually did a civil rights pilgrimage, and she came back and shared her learning, and it was really well attended, and people were like, when are you going to do the next one? And we didn't really have a game plan, so we didn't do the second one because it was really deep conversations, and I think it needs to be we need to have a follow-up conversations and stuff like that, so it's not a one-time dialogue.
Well, let me interrupt. So is it like a panel of speakers?
No, it's just
how you do it?
The dialogue is usually one person presenting, a bunch of people attending. People usually attend, and they donate, buy a ticket to attend.
Okay.
And then it's just conversation. It's really a dialogue about sharing. She shared about her civil rights pilgrimage experience, and then people were able to ask questions. A lot were like, oh my gosh, I did not know this happened. It's sort of like going to your first time going to the National Museum of the African American over there in Washington, D.C. It's overwhelming kind of dialogue. So that was our one we did last year, which was really popular. And then this year, the Pan-African Festival also did the Black Business Summit, which was really successful, and media really loved. And we had all kinds of Black businesses attend, and we offered workshops. And one of the workshops was presented by the managing director of White and Kennedy. So it was really a great summit for that. And then the festival always happens the second week of August annually in Pioneer Square. And the idea, behind is not only community empowerment, galvanizing and mobilizing the community here and sharing our own culture with the larger Oregonian, but also it's really a celebration through economic development, or economic development through celebration, however you say that. And we're trying to address multiple issues. This is really a community development and community improvement celebration. One of the things, some of the issues we're trying to solve that exist, that is a reality for Oregon, is that there isn't a public space for Black-owned businesses in Oregon that is dedicated. For example, there's the Portland Mercado that exists for our Latinx community, and then there's the J District. There isn't a district or space dedicated for Black-owned businesses or Pan-African businesses. So what we're trying to address with this festival, having it in downtown, which we know that over 50,000 people come into downtown every day, we thought it was the best way to actually create, optimal revenue generating space for these businesses. So we have that, and we invite a whole bunch of Black-owned businesses to sell their products, whether that's food, alcohol. Unfortunately, people drink alcohol. I don't drink alcohol, but so people selling food, alcohol, or crafts, some of their handmade or whatever businesses they have. Some are designers who are selling clothes. Some are, people who make handmade jewelries. And that day, they're able to sell over 100 people each. And we have, the first year we had about 12 businesses. Second year we had about 18 businesses. This third year we're going to have, in 2019, we're going to have over close to 30 businesses. So it's really a great opportunity for these businesses to make money outside their retail space. So that's one issue. Because of that, public space doesn't exist. We're trying to create one and hopefully lead to actually establishing a dedicated space that's open throughout the year, every day kind of thing. So hopefully it will lead to that. And then the second thing we're trying to address with this festival is that the Portland Business Journal have been reporting, that there are the number of businesses, Black-owned businesses that got loans went from 50 to 3 last year in 2018. So there's this perception that there's not a lot of Black-owned businesses that exist in Oregon, and then there's this lack of access to funding and access to lending, and just 3 Black-owned, what happened, and lack of conversation about what happened to the 47 businesses that didn't get that loan. So there's that happening. So we decided that, one way to demonstrate the diversity, not only the diversity, but the magnitude and the number of Black-owned businesses or business owners that exist, is a way to have this public market and invite the decision makers and the media to showcase and say, look at all these Black-owned businesses. Only 3 have gotten, and maybe the 47 of them have closed down and shut down. But look at all these Black-owned businesses that exist and address this lending problem and access to capital. Really, that's what we're hoping to do with the festival. And it's working. So far, so good.
That's great. So we were talking on the break before about how, and I have a business degree, so this is new to me, but the grants and the loans that you don't have to pay back. Can you elaborate on that? What's available, or maybe some disadvantages that some minorities may have on capturing those opportunities?
There's tons of resources that exist for our businesses. There's a lot of organizations who are charged and funded to actually help minority businesses and develop, even if you're just like thinking about it and want to start your own business, there are people who will get large money by our taxpayer money to be able to help these businesses. But the resources exist. The challenge is access to those resources. I think, and there's a lot of money on the table, but also the challenge is accessing that. And the problem isn't really like, you figuring out how do you access that, but it's the biases that create those. So I think a lot of the businesses, what they face is biases. Some of the challenges that they have is biases that happens that turns them away from accessing to these money. The bank can give you $5,000 and it's not a big deal, but because of biases, you get weaved out in the first process. You don't even get to that level of vetting. So I think, and there's multiple offices who are working on addressing this. How do you address?
Great. So, because it sounds like it's empowerment by education as well, right?
Yeah, we're
Great.
trying to, yes, absolutely. We're trying to empower, but use education, as
Good.
a platform too.
Well, how do we stay in contact with you?
We have a website. I'm on Facebook. I wasn't on Facebook for a while, and before I started the festival, I actually was not on Facebook, why people freaked out. They were like, who's this Nafisa organizing the Pan-African Festival? How do we get in touch? So I have Facebook now, and then we're Googleable at Pan-African Festival or Pan-African Planning Group. If you Google, you'll find our website. Our contact information is there.
Great. So you heard Ms. Fai's story and how she's empowering the community. We want to thank her for coming to the show. We want to thank you all for watching the show. Have an awesome, awesome day.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Harmon. I'm a member of TV Toastmasters. In this club, we have an opportunity to practice speaking before the camera as well as running the equipment room. If you're interested in being interviewed on TV Toastmasters or becoming a member, please go to Toastmasters.org and look for us, or simply search for TV Toastmasters on the web.